Welcome back, guys. How ya doing? Welcome back to another session. It's been a long time since I've said those words, and I have a lot to explain. I know I've been gone. Jeez, it's been a while. I don't even know the last time I dropped a vlog or anything on YouTube or even social media for that aspect. But I decided to take a break from social media, and the reason why is because of postpartum. In this one-on-one talk, I'm going to dive into the often overlooked topic of men and their postpartum experience. I'll be sharing my own journey, my experience of fatherhood, mental health, and the importance of self-care when it comes to postpartum experience. And I'll also dive in a little bit more on how that may negatively impact relationships. Throughout 2023 and 2024, I think it's fair to say that I was at the peak of my front-facing career. I was doing a lot of speaking engagements. I was doing a lot of podcasts. I had a lot of keynotes. I even did the Stronger Together tour February 2024. We went to Nashville. We went to DC. We went to New York. We sold out. It was an amazing experience. And after that, I went dark. I went dark. I took a break, and that was a very wise decision. The specific moment that triggered this break was when I realized that I was constantly feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from my family. I was so focused on my career that I started to neglect my mental health, my relationships, my family, and etc. See, when we become fathers as men, we tend to have that Superman complex, that superhero complex, that we can handle all of it. And truth is, it's impossible to do so. I've had 3 kids in 4 years, and my son is now 10 months old. When I took the break, he was born in August, September, October, November, December. He was about 6 to 7 months. And let me tell you, 3 kids under 4 years old is a lot to handle. And even with the first 2, I was still able to be out there. I was still able to be front-facing, to travel and do all of these things. And I was able to rely on my wife and my support network to assist. But when you have 3 kids, that's a little bit different. Asking somebody to babysit 3 children under 4 years old is just a lot of work, and the youngest being about 6 to 7 months is a lot. So I needed to take the time to reevaluate myself, my career, my relationships, my family, and my priorities. I wanted to focus on what truly mattered, and that was being a father, husband, and taking care of myself. This was not my wife's idea. She did not ask me to take a break. This was a choice that I made when I just felt so disconnected from my children and my wife. My relationship at the time was suffering. I was gone, I was busy, I was working a lot. I think as fathers, we tend to need to find a balance between being the provider and being present. And I didn't do a great job at that. So with me traveling so much around the month of February, or just the start of the new year in general, man, I missed a lot. I missed my kids. I missed being home. I was very tired. I was very focused on this tour that I gave it everything that I had, to the point that when I was home, I had nothing else to give my kids and my wife. And that was an issue for me. So in this dialogue, in this confession, reflection, this session, I'm going to talk about the most common challenges that men experience with postpartum. Number 1, emotional and psychological challenges. You see, when a man transitions to being a father, there's also a lot of changes that happen within the makeup of their body and their mind. So it's very common for men's testosterone to drops and for their estrogen to increases, which allows them to bond with the child better, be able to be more aware of the child's need, and to just be a better parent in general, right? They're able to wake up at night, they're able to hear the baby. Like, your body basically transitions you to be able to keep this new, wonderful, pooping, crying, amazing creature alive. Us men, we also tend to experience significant emotional and psychological changes in terms of mix of joy, anxiety, and even depression. I know a lot of times we tend to focus on the woman's postpartum experience. That can be very negative and a very challenging space for them. The same can be said about the men. Men experience all of these things as well. So for a while, I was experiencing these things, but I was just not paying attention to it. It was very difficult for me to get my tasks done, to find the joy for the things that I used to find joy for. It's to just find a balance in between all of the responsibilities that I had at that time period. One of the major changes that happened to my body was gained weight. I gained a considerable amount of weight, which negatively impacted the way that I view myself and created a high sense of body dysphoria. So when I took the break, one of the first things that I did was call my coach. His name is Brian Blasio. I will tag him in the description as well as put his social media page here. He's an IFBB pro. He's a men's physique competitor, and to me, he's one of the greatest trainers alive. I've been working with Brian for, I would even say 10 years now. I've gotten in the best shape of my life with Brian. And yeah, so at the end of the tour, he was the first call that I made. And I told him, hey man, it's time for me to get back in shape. And he said, are you serious? Are you ready? Are you willing to make the necessary sacrifices? And I looked at him and I said, I had no other option. The way that I look affected the way that I could parent, affected my flexibility, affected my energy, and I was experiencing depressive symptoms. And I've always been a proponent of exercise due to all of the physical and mental benefits that it offered. So I was able to establish a gym routine, a workout routine. We did a 4-day split with cardio. That helped me so much. I'm gonna be honest, that saved my life. That saved my relationship. That saved my family. I was able to carve out time for myself. It allowed me to clear my mind. It allowed me to put on my headphones, blasting with loud music, and just zone in on me versus me. Looking at this mirror and lifting weights again, and having that 90 minutes to myself where I didn't have to worry about anything else but the weight that was in front of me. And my God, I needed that. I was able to be very consistent. I dropped a considerable amount of weight. My physique improved, my mood improved, energy level just picked back up, and my testosterone also rised. I did not measure my levels of testosterone pre or post, but I know my body and I'm very in tune and attuned to my emotions and my body in general that I felt the difference. And when I decided to call Brian to set that up, I also had a conversation with my wife where we had to work together to curate the time for me to have for the gym. So out of the 3 children, 2 of them were in daycare. My son remained home for about 6 to 7 months before going to daycare themselves. So I was able to wake up maybe around like 5 a.m. every morning, and just from 5 to 7 was just my time. And my God, that was needed. Number 2, feeling overwhelmed with new responsibilities. We went from being a couple to parent of 1, parent of 2, parent of 3. In about 4 years, we also relocated where we purchased a home down in Jersey, moved away from our support network, our family, our friends. I also had to grieve my old life in that aspect. The responsibilities of caring for 3 children, maintaining a healthy relationship, being a CEO, and owning my private practice while also being a content creator was just a lot to do. I am a couples therapist, so I am meeting with clients. Each session was 90 minutes, and sometimes I will have marathon session which would last 6 to 9 hours depending on the client. So I was taking a lot, right? So at the time when I was done with work, I didn't want to talk. I had no energy for nothing else. I didn't want to do absolutely nothing. I just wanted to lay down, have a glass of wine, and relax. But when you have 3 children, hey, daddy's home. Daddy, are you done working? Daddy, can you play with me? You gotta change this diaper. I put this one to sleep, you gotta feed a bottle. It was just a lot of responsibilities, family-wise, professionally, and personally, right? Maintaining your social network, continuing to socialize with your friends and your family while also juggling all of these responsibilities. So that was a lot for me. During that time, I must say that I lost a number of friendships on a personal level and on a business level. I wasn't able to be present for others the way that I used to be present prior. Some people understood and gave me that grace. These people were also parents, so they kind of understood what was going to happen. They didn't personalize it. They didn't see it as an attack or an abandonment or anything like this, while others who were not parents had a hard time. And that led to many dialogues, unnecessary conflicts, and etc., to the point where it just made no sense to continue those relationships, because what they were looking from me is presence and investment. And when I say investment, I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about being available via phone, sending a text, responding to a call, and things like this. I didn't have that. I couldn't. My plate was too full. My cup was spilling over. I was overwhelmed with all the things that I had to do that unfortunately I couldn't continue to nourish these relationships that were very important to me to the degree that I formerly did. So I accepted that fate and I was able to move away from those things. During that break, I also focused on family time. I wanted to become a better father and a better husband. I was present with my kids. I helped with homework. I was engaging with their schooling and their daycare. I would show up midday, pick them up, take them to the movies, let's go get our nails done, go to the park. I found myself doing a lot more things as a father. Sorry guys, the camera died. I believe I was speaking on relationships I had to let go of, and that's normal. It's sad that it happens, but that's okay. There's no hard feelings or anything like this. It's just natural course of life, unfortunately. Yeah. Number 3, lack of sleep. Man, lack of sleep is a common issue for new parents. The constant wake-ups and irregular patterns can take a role on anybody's mental health. I read a stat that said a new parent loses about 109 minutes of sleep a year. For me, I would say double that, man. It doubled. My son woke up a lot during the night and my wife was extremely exhausted throughout the day. So I dealt with, I'm not gonna say some of the night wake-ups, and that was extremely tough. I am the one that puts my son to sleep. So a lot of time when he would wake up at nighttime, he would seek me out. And that was my duty of putting him back to sleep. So we alternated nights, or we did shifts, or whatever worked for us in that time period. That's what we had to do. And as you guys know, a lack of sleep can lead to a lack of patience, increased irritability, and that will negatively impact relationships. I also noticed a pattern between me and my wife whenever we experience lack of sleep, which was the norm. We tend to engage in non-productive communication skills and had a lot more disagreements than we usually would. One thing that we did is prioritize sleeping when the baby slept to the best of our abilities, but it was also time to, like, if the baby's sleeping, like I'm gonna go do laundry, I'm gonna go clean the house, or I'm gonna go show up on social media, which I didn't have to do, or I'm gonna go manicure the yard, or whatever the case may be. We saw that as an opportunity for us to care for ourselves, for us to care for the relationship, for us to care for the children, but also an opportunity to catch up on sleep. Ideally, sleep didn't really much improve, but hey man, those are the reality of being a parent. Have to be able to perform with lack of sleep, deprived sleep. And at the same time, I want to highlight, due to the fact that I own private practice, I didn't go on paternity leave. my family depends on my income, and if I don't work, I don't get paid. I had a solo practice at the time, and me not working means us not getting paid and not being able to care for our financial responsibilities. So there was a lot of time where I would have to drink immense amount of coffee, caffeine, monsters, and things like this in order to show up and fulfill my duties as a therapist. And again, I was getting a lot of clients. I was getting a lot of people that wanted to work with me. So due to couples work being my passion, being something that I really enjoyed, I really take it seriously. And I always want to show up as best as possible and do the work and assist as many couples as needed. During that time period, I took no new clients. You couldn't book me. I shut down my website and everything because I needed to care for the clients that I had. And I also work less. I was able to reduce my caseload to half. So that required a lot of financial gymnastics, of letting go of certain things that we didn't really need financially, and being more precise with our finances. So I was able to work a lot less so I could be more present for the family, for my marriage, for my partner, and for my children, including myself. So that was a financial sacrifice that I had to do that I believe was very, very, very helpful. Like I said before, one of the biggest challenges of being a father is feeling that need to provide. Like, I want my kids to have a great life. I want them to not be deprived of the things that they need or even desire to some degree, and also wanted to maintain the lifestyle that we've been accustomed to. So reducing my caseload was very tough. Saying no to couples was very tough. Saying no to bookings, right? There's a lot of keynotes that I said no to. There's a lot of podcasts that I had to say that I'm not in a space right now where I can travel and do this work. Man, I had companies reach out for me to create ads or for me to do something on social media, and I said no. I was not in that frame of mind. I had no capacity, and I wanted to really focus on my family, myself, and my relationship. So lack of sleep, didn't solve that. Managed to take as many naps as possible and allowing my body to adapt to performing with the lack of sleep. I also, like I previously said, I would wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. So it doesn't matter if I went to sleep at 2, if I went to sleep at midnight, if I went to sleep at 9 p.m., it don't matter. That's the time that we had agreed upon, and that's the time that made the most sense for the family, right? And I think it's very important to say is the abandonment of self for the success of the family. That's something that I had to do. A lot of times I had to focus less on what benefited me and what worked for me and made me feel good to what was the best decision for the family. Taking my caseload and shrinking it was the best thing for the family. Waking up at 5 a.m. no matter what was the best thing for the family. Saying no to travel opportunities and paid opportunities that would have taken me away from my family was the best thing for my family. Being more consistent with my self-care and my gym routine, best thing for the family, but also for me. So again, finding that balance. Number 4, financial stress. This list is in no particular order, of course, but I feel like financial stress is one of the major things that most parents have to address, right? The financial burden of having a new baby adds a lot of stress, significant stress. And especially as men, we feel the increased pressure to provide for the family, especially when we are the primary breadwinner, right? I remember looking for a car. At that time period, we had a 2-row SUV. We needed more space, so we needed to go to a 3-row SUV. And every time I would contact a dealer, a company, I was being priced out. They asked $1,000 for a Honda Pilot. A Honda Pilot. They wanted $1,000 a month for a Honda Pilot. It's ludicrous. But again, yes, right? More kids, more space, bigger car with more safety features because our anxiety is at an all-time high. So even though I did decrease my caseload, we were able to sustain ourselves with what was being made. My wife also started working afterwards, so we had a 2-income family, which was great, which was beneficial, but that also took her away to some degree from the family, from the children, and etc. And our biggest bill up to date is daycare. It's daycare. Daycare cost is higher than my mortgage. Daycare cost. I think it's a crime how these providers can charge this much. It's sickening. It came to the point where my wife's income directly went to daycare. Like, you work just to pay daycare. And I know a lot of people say, then why not leave the kids at home? I get that, but having 3 children under 4 at home consistently is a lot. That takes a lot from you. And adults who also have their own dreams of their careers, to put such a big pause on that is also not fair. So we definitely experienced that financial stress. A lot of sacrifices was made in terms of having a strict budget, in terms of travel, in terms of things that we didn't need. We had to buckle down. But daycare costs, ladies and gentlemen, it's very unfair. My first daughter is moving to pre-K now, so no more daycare costs for her. That leaves me with 2 children in daycare for the next 3 to 4 years. And I promise, the day that I no longer have daycare costs, I'm throwing myself a big party. Big. Major. I'm buying myself something nice, probably a watch. Daycare costs, my God. Number 5, feeling left out. As men become father, we sometimes feel excluded from the bonding process between the baby and the mom. I think due to mom breastfeeding, they tend to have a higher bond with the child, and at times you can appear to be the third wheeler who's not part of that process. So that this can lead to you feeling isolated or being inadequate. A lot of times I would see how my son or my children in general, when they're being breastfed, how they would rub my wife's face, how attentive my wife was to them, and vice versa, how they just connected on a level that I couldn't have at that time period. Yes, we did skin to skin. I was a fun parent. We got to play, wrestle, and things like this as they got older. But as newborn, it just that their relationship was vastly different from my relationship with them. Over time, as they got older and more aware, they started to notice me more, and to some degree even favor me. But we're not gonna say that out loud. But at first it was different, right? Especially in the early months where mom and baby are bonding a lot. Yeah. So what I did is I needed to create rituals of connections with my children. One thing that I prioritized was giving them bath time. That was my time to play with them. That was my time to be present for them. We went to the park a lot. When my son was not breastfeeding, I would feed him a bottle. So that was my time to kind of connect. Changing diapers, playing together, those are all activities that I needed to be conscious of to ensure that I am also building a relationship with my children, and I was feeling less left out. It's just that I was curating what my relationship was going to be. And this also gave my wife a break from having to care for the children, for her to engage in her own personal journey, for her to go to the gym and work out. And with the being left out, it's not just about the family aspect, but it's also about socially, where a lot of my friends would hang out and go to dinner together, and I wasn't able to make it. I didn't want to go, or I didn't have a babysitter, or I didn't want to take time away from the children, or I didn't want to leave my wife home with 3 kids while I went out to hang out with the boys. So I think finding other fatherly networks, other groups of men that are going through the same thing, that are having those same experiences, are very important for any man. It leads to co-learning. It leads to feeling included, feeling accepted, being seen and appreciated. And it's just good to find community. I was able to build that I started a father group among the fathers that I knew, where we would meet monthly, have a drink of wine, just talk sports, talk about what's going on in our relationship, talk about what's going on in our lives. A lot of time it didn't get deep, but sometimes it did, and sometimes it's just good to have somebody to just talk to on a man-to-man level that really understand what you're experiencing in that moment. Number 6, changes in relationship dynamic. It's reported that the first year of being a parent is extremely difficult. 75% of couples tend to report a lower relationship satisfaction for the first 3 years. Mom that breastfeed also tend to have a lower libido, where it's completely gone, right? Like the baby's sucking it out. So that tends to lead to some negative relationship conflict, more arguments, less intimacy, less time for friendship or romance or passion, more nitpicking, more criticism, more attacking each other, and creating a culture of war as opposed to a culture of appreciation. Unfortunately, we did not experience much of that. I think me and my wife did a pretty good job of preparing ourselves to being parents. Also, due to the nature of my work of being a couples therapist, I had a lot of knowledge of what the struggles tend to be or what the challenges were going to be. So I was able to create a game plan collaboratively, create a game plan for us to address that. One thing I've learned is, if the children are in the home, then your wife is always in mom mode. She's not your lady, she's in mom mode. And for a lot of women, when their children are in the home, it's tough for them to be sexual. It's tough for them to be open to intimacy, because they're waiting for the child to wake up. They're waiting for the child to make a noise. Like, they just have a lot that goes on in their mind that we're not privy to. So one of the things that I did, I religiously, once a month, will drop off the children to their grandparents. We had a schedule and agreement. Well, take the kids to the grandparents for a night or two, and that allowed me and my wife to just be husband and wife, to just be partners. We would go out, we would go hang out, we would go on dates, we would go out to dinner. Sometimes we just stayed in bed and watched TV, watched a Netflix show. Sometimes we just slept nonstop. Other times we cleaned the whole house, right? But it was about curating that space for us to escape our parenting duties for 24 to 48 hours and having that break, so we can fill our personal cup as well as the relationship emotional bank account, right? That allowed us to make a lot more deposits during that space as opposed to withdrawals. So when the next hiccup happened, we had a reserve of emotional deposits that we could draw from that would lessen the negative impact. So we did a lot of that. That's something that I had to learn. When, I don't want to say women become moms, when someone becomes a mother, it can also lead to identity shift, where they become that identity. They become a mother, and that's their sole identity, and they tend to move away from everything else, their hobbies, their friends, because they are very focused on raising a child and keeping that child alive and being nurturing. So we also established personal time, where she got to hang out with her friends, where she went to get her nails done, her hair done, whatever she needed at that time. It could be where she got to shower, uninterrupted shower, where she got to sit down and be on her phone without hearing mommy, without having to breastfeed, without having to change a diaper or wipe somebody's booty, right? So that was very important for myself included too, right? So these changes that we made allow us to nurture the relationship during that space. I also would check in very, very often on how she's feeling and how she's doing, and she will do the same for me. She'll tell me, hey, I think you need to go for a walk. You have not left the house. You need to go outside and have some sun. You need to go exercise. When I wanted a burger sometimes, she's like, cool, I'll get you that with lettuce and not the buns, because I know your fitness goals are very important to you, and I know the way that you nourish your body will either be a positive or negative impact on you, the family, and the relationship. So I'm very thankful for all these things that she did and the things that we put in place to nourish the relationship. We had a lot of rituals. We managed to create quality time. If that required that we stayed up late or wake up earlier just for us to connect, we did that. We were committed to nurturing our relationship, to not be a statistic, and to make each other feel loved, appreciated, and cherished. A lot of times parents tend to nitpick who's doing more, who's doing less, who's being validated, who's being seen, right? I see a lot of couples now who are becoming new parents and are experiencing all of these rifts. It's expected, yes, but due to the work that I do again, and knowing what's expected, knowing what the remedy is, we implied these things very early on, and we continued to do so. And finally, advice for fathers. I would say, take it easy, slow down, take your time. It's very crucial that you prioritize your mental health, because you cannot nurture anyone else if you don't nurture yourself. I would also say it's very important to be an ally to your partner. If they're feeling seen, appreciated, wanted, desired, respected, and valued, that will then influence the way that they address you, the way that they deal with you, along with the way that they treat the children. It's very common that infidelity occurs during the transition of being parents, due to the lack of emotional and physical connection, due to the lack of attunement from partner to partner, due to the lack of appreciation, and due to the lack of acknowledgement, right? So that's why it's very important to nurture not just yourself, but to also nurture the relationship. Exercise, take the necessary time, make the sacrifice to go find yourself a good gym routine. That break, that mental break away from everything else when you can just focus on you, is extremely, extremely, extremely important. To me, it was the gym. For you, it might be meditation, it might be talking to a therapist, it might be walking, it might be signing up for an F45 course. Whatever the case may be, you need to find that space where you could nurture yourself and give yourself a break. What else? Take a step back when you need it. The balance between being provider and being present. That dance, you gotta figure that out. For me, it was completely going dark and taking the necessary time to be present for myself, for my family, and my children. It's to the point now where my wife tells me, yo, I need you to go outside, I need you to get back on podcasts and doing what you do, because you are needed out there and you've been home for too long. I've become very comfortable and content with being a dad. Right, like that has become my major identity. Like, I am a father, I am a dad, I am a husband. I prioritize those things extremely well. They're very important to me. I know every teacher in your school. I interact with all of the parents. I'm the point of contact, you know? Also, I'd also like to say that I'm the favorite parent. I'll make a video about that itself because it's a lot of work, but I'd like to think so. So overall now, my mental health is a lot better. I feel so good. I feel extremely balanced. I feel very sure and confident of myself and happy. Physique wise, we're doing excellent. This is the best I've looked for 4 to 6 years, I would say. You know, I can now go to the beach or to a water park without my shirt and feel completely fine. I like that. My desire to create content again is getting there. My desire to interact. My solo practice has now transformed to a group practice. So getting comfortable in the CEO role and being mentors to new and upcoming therapists. I like that. I enjoy that. It's definitely a new challenge. Watching my daughter grow up, calling me bro, right? Us going out to dinner and them ordering whatever the hell that they want to eat. That's beautiful. My son is now 10 months old. He's starting to walk. That's a whole stress in itself, right? I like that. I have a 2-year-old who is dynamic, She has my personality and I love it. I love her. I love all my kids. It's beautiful to see. My relationship is the strongest that it's ever been, right? All of that is exciting and I'm thankful for that. I am the best I've been mentally, physically, emotionally in a long time. I feel full. I am full. I am on my square and I love that for myself. And I hope and wish upon the same for all new fathers and all fathers in general. Yeah, I look forward to coming back on social media. It's been a while. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things that I want to do. So again, I just want to thank you guys. I'm hoping this was not too long. I'm glad I finally did it. It's been a thought of mine for a while. And I vow to not lead myself to burnout. I vow to continue to maintain the balance that I have and take the necessary step to protect it. So that means I'll be saying no a lot more often. I've also restructured my business to create the space for all of those things. That's something I can talk about in another video. Nonetheless, I just want to say thank you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment. There will be more of these moving forward. Let me know if you like it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Years from now, I will watch this back and be extremely proud of myself. So thank you. Until next time, talk to Mac out.